Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Mikki Westcombe. We are the founders of Nexus Performance. Joining us on this wild ride is our heavyweight coaching team, ready to unleash their expertise to solve any problems in your journey to getting strong and jacked.
Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
So pump up the volume and let's get into this.
No, do a normal intro.
Hello.
Mikki's back.
Yeah.
Causing trouble. Hello, welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. My name is Mikki. So today we have Joshua Sturzenberg and Wilbo Baggins.
Okay.
No, it's all right. I did another podcast and someone spelt my name B-U-R-G. And then my mum called me and she's like, hello, Berg.
That's all
and
right.
I was like trying to work it out. I was like, why are you saying it like that? She's like,
Berg.
mentioned it. Like, yeah, because it's B-E-R-G.
Yeah, but the pronunciation wouldn't be any different.
No. No, I don't know. I was like, I didn't even notice it. I reshared it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't care. Whatever.
Oh.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Doesn't
we're
bother me.
good. We're good. I actually haven't seen what notes you guys have for this episode. I've got my own in here as well.
Well, I'll intro today's topic then. It is essentially what health supps we take and why.
And just around health supps in general.
Yeah, just a little bit of a...
If we just made a list and read them out and then end a podcast, it'd be pretty over. So like
3 minutes 50.
Yeah, a little bit of more, intro to that as in around like health supps, why they're a thing.
Why we take health supps. Well, my thoughts were the three of us have very different requirements, different needs, different health needs.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wilbo diabetic. There's some things that you take that are slightly different.
They're similar.
Josh, similar, but there's still a couple of extra bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Josh, obviously, just hopefully healthy boy, and the basic requirements that you have. And then myself as a female, there's not a lot of differences there, but the fact that I'm actually going down like prenatal stuff now and some of the differences that I'm taking in that route. I'm not going to go huge down the fertility stuff because obviously it's not really what we do.
Doctor.
Exactly. But I thought I'd just share my insight, my experiences and what I'm doing differently now versus what I used to do before.
Yeah, I think this is similar to our discussions around training and having the layers of like human athlete and more specifically like what you are, powerlifter, and also what phase you're in, peaking, off season, blah blah blah,
bulking, dieting,
and then similar to that, because on the human level, we're all going to take similar things potentially. Or at least we live similar enough lives that they're going to be similar.
Certain daily essentials.
And then the athlete stuff is going to be different, and then and then the based on our periods and what we're doing, off season, peaking stuff, I'll take slightly different things again.
Do you guys actually do a lot of like health sup recommendations with your guys whenever you're talking about this sort of stuff? Because obviously, like we do with the nutrition.
Yeah.
Do you touch on it a little bit if there's something that comes up in a blood test result that they send you or whatever?
Yeah, I've chats and discussions, especially like the clients that I've got that I share with George or Kirby. Like we obviously collaborate a little bit, like just little things that maybe I've tried that maybe they haven't, or vice versa or whatnot. Like I always go in there and read the girls' recommendations, like your guys' recommendations, and then there's always a little bit like, I can have a look at it from a different lens kind of thing. And definitely have a discussion around health supps with people for sure.
Yeah. And Will, obviously, like you have more PD related chats with people.
The health supps as well.
Yeah.
Luckily, that is not.
But that's what I mean. Like you'll make health sup requirements based on
not only
some
just
of those
that,
things. Yeah.
But luckily it's not something that changes every week or even every month. It changes, really infrequently. To be honest with you, so like things like just your real basic health supps, they're just going to be a year. I think I've been taking the same sort of few things for my daily stuff for
ever
5 years or something, if not more. And then the other stuff has come in like periodically, and obviously diabetic stuff since that.
Yeah.
But
our Herbert order hasn't really changed in the last 4 years.
No, you go into your cart and you just
and I just reorder, and I'm just like, yep.
We're sweet.
And then sometimes I'll just end up accidentally forgetting to delete something that might last longer.
Yeah.
Some of those subs you buy have like
Yeah.
400, 500, 600 tablets in it.
Yeah.
Vitamin D.
And then you accidentally buy it again. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Or there's the crossover between like multivitamins that have a certain dosing. You're like, well, I don't need to like buy this particular item anymore, or whatever. So, yeah, cool. What else have you got here? Have you just literally written down each of your own things?
Yeah, but before we get
stuff.
into those ones, we were going to start off with essentially like
some general guidelines.
What makes a good supplement choice?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to firstly shout out to any of the listeners out there at the moment. We do have nutrition and programming strength coaching spots available with everyone within the team. So if you are sitting on the fence a little bit, you're coming into a prep, or maybe you're after competition and you are looking to get on board with some coaching, please reach out to us. The boys do monthly and weekly programming, and then with the nutrition services, we have fortnightly and weekly check-ins there as well. So if you want to get
face-to-face,
yep, and you do PT sessions here within the Gold Coast, and we've got Jason up there in Townsville. So if anyone listening out there is wanting to get on board our coaching services, please jump on NexusPerformance.Au website,
book in a call. We can have a chat.
Yep, exactly. All right. So, what makes a good supplement choice?
Yeah,
Wilbur, do you want to kick us off there?
Well, like I said, most people are gonna have a basic needs that they're gonna take like daily or whatever the recommendation is. It's just like on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that pop to me straight away for that, vitamin D3, which is just super duper cheap. People don't get in the sun as much as what they should. There's a few people on my client list that don't do it because they're tradies and they're just like outside all day every day. But even them, they're in long clothes a lot of the time. So the good thing about vitamin D is that there's no overdose sort of limit to it, and you can really like there's no negative. So like that one. We're talking fish oil, omega-3 supplementation. Nobody eats. Come on, like nobody realistically is getting that in.
Speak for yourself, mate.
What are you
eating? Your salmon.
You're on that bassa.
Flaxseed, chia seeds.
Okay. Do you still supplement with those?
No.
All right. Well,
I'm getting like
unless you're doing that. I'm getting that in for most people. That's a very, very common recommendation. And with lifters, what we do, the outputs we're going through, and just generally the lack of it in food these days, lack of quality foods, magnesium as well.
Yep.
Everybody's pretty guilty of not eating enough veggies, very commonly anyway. And even the veggie quality, like I said, soil quality, all that sort of stuff, not what it used to be. So it's a good choice to chuck in. So those sort of the things, these, they're just like on a human level going to be no sides, only going to be beneficial, very, very commonly needed. So they just go on the list for me at the start. And then everything else that we're going to talk through is on a needs basis, in my opinion.
Can I just jump in and preface this as well? When it comes to like my answer to this, like what makes a good supplement choice, was actually like before we start listing off the supplements, there are different quality supplements, right? So we have to be addressing the dosing of that. Like you talk about omega-3s, fish oils.
Absolutely.
Like making sure that you're actually getting adequate dosing of each of these supplements. You don't want to be having an omega-3 type, like a supplement that you buy over the counter that you have to take 6 pills just to reach the requirements of your omega-3 dosing.
Yeah. Super common if you just go and buy one at a chemist.
Yeah.
That's the supplement for underdosing, I reckon.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be the number one, I think, for sure.
Your Coles and Woolies.
Even vitamin D in Australia,
yeah,
off the shelf, very low dosed.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 IU.
At most, I think, is the most you can get off over the counter.
They're like just slamming pills.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So there's that, but there's also the bioavailability of the supplements that you're getting. So certain supplements have like certain nutrient absorption rate, and I think it's important to preface that if you're going out and you're buying some of these things, that making sure that your body is actually adequately absorbing and utilizing some of these things. So that's what I look at when it comes to bioavailability. So I'm not just going to buy like a shitty magnesium. I'm going to look at something that actually has a chemical compound that's going to make it better absorption rate.
And it can be very confusing, especially with magnesium, because like there's 5 or 6 different kinds.
Oh, there's heaps.
Citrate,
Yeah, like it's
biglycinate,
wild. Yeah, it's wild how many different kinds there are, and like obviously they have different rationales and reasons. Some are cheaper than others. Some are like, you know, so it's more or less based around like what you're kind of looking to get out of it as well.
Yeah.
But thankfully, and also not thankfully, this is where the good supplement choice comes in, I think, is that the supplement industry, just like the fitness industry, but even worse, I would say, has a like shiny object sort of appeal to it in that there's way more information out there, good information. We'll tell you where to get it soon. But there's also just so much marketing and shiny labels and you know, the boldness of labels and telling you it's going to change your life. And usually it's when you think of that stuff, you're thinking pre-workouts, but even on these health supps, even on magnesium and shit, like it's just like going to change your fucking life sort of labels on it. So the biggest, when it comes to making a good supplement choices here, is try to not get sucked into their marketing and just stick to your shopping cart.
Stick to what's actually on the label. And the other thing
stick
as
to what
well
we
is,
tell you.
Well, the other thing is like if you're looking at certain like sports supplements, for example, like pre-workouts or protein powders or whatever, like sometimes they just batch them, so they don't even have like the dosing of ingredients. It's just like here's a list of ingredients, and they just kind of like throw everything into like a pot.
Thankfully, that's way less common these days.
It is.
You used to buy pre-workout.
They used to change I think they changed the regulations around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it was just a, what do they call it? A something blend?
I was just trying to think. Yeah, prop blend.
Yeah.
And it was just literally the list, and you just like,
what's in this?
Whereas like on food labels, if you look at food labels, they put it in order of what is most in there.
Yeah.
They did that with the blends as well, but you didn't know how much.
They don't. Yeah. There was a point when they weren't doing that as well.
Oh, okay.
So it was like they would just literally spit all the ingredients, and you didn't know what was any of it, and they were like clinically underdosing so much of it.
These days, it's been a long time since I've seen a company do that. That's not complete crap. So these days, people are listing it out because they know
it's almost
consumers
like
are smarter.
It's a badge of honor now for companies to be like, oh, we've got this much in our product, so we're better than that product because we've got. It's like better.
I think there's also like the whole WADA thing as well, right? Like the you know, if you're batch blending stuff and there's a if there's traces of another compound that shouldn't be in that product,
that's a whole nother conversation.
Control.
If you were being tested on WADA, I would be
very careful.
I'd be very careful.
Just
and there are companies that literally have the lists of
what
this is what we recommend, and I would absolutely be sticking to that, and I recommend my guys stick to that.
Yeah, they 100%.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So what have we got here? Using blood work to guide decisions. Yeah.
I think this is a really important one because the amount of times I've had clients come to me, and I'm sure you both are the exact same, and they're just like, oh, I went to Chemist Warehouse the other day, and the guy's like, oh, you should get this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I just bought a bunch of stuff, and you kind of like things like zinc and everything like that. Like I definitely recommend people to take zinc, but unlike some of these others, like you can actually take too much.
Yeah.
And so using blood work, even for vitamin D, for example, like I remember when I first started nutrition with Nexus, I was vitamin D deficient. And I told you that, and you laughed and said, you're on the fucking Gold Coast. Why don't you just go get sun? And I was like, okay, fine. Now I do get lots of sun, but I still take a vitamin D supplement every now and again, just because I have a tendency to be quite low.
Zinc's one of those things as well. It's like being cautious of the dosing of that and the type of zinc as well.
Yes.
For sure. But I mean, like for me personally, I don't typically give any health supplement advice until I see someone's blood panel.
Yes.
So if someone's come on board and they don't have blood work within the last sort of 3 to 6 months, like depending on the individual, like obviously if they're just a general population person, or like a non-tested athlete coming on board and they've had a blood test within the last 6 months, and everything came back pretty clear and healthy on that, then I'll use that as my analysis to make the decisions on what health supps I need. But if there's someone that I know is coming through preps, or there's certain supplements, additional supplements that are coming into the picture here, I'll ask for a blood test to be done within the first 2 weeks of our working together, to obviously help me drive the decisions as to what supps I'm going to recommend them. Because I can recommend like those general health ones, and then they have to place another order 2 weeks later off iHerb to stock up on the other bits and pieces. So it kind of gets annoying for them to have to keep ordering versus, buying a few things in bulk at once and that's it. So I'm like, hold on, you haven't been taking any health subs for the last 12 months. Waiting an extra month or 2 weeks to get your order is not going to be a big deal if you get your blood test done in time. And from there, I can make the decisions as to what I actually need you to be getting rather than just making assumptions.
Yeah, and it's not like when you get a blood test back, unless you've paid thousands of dollars for it, it's just gonna have your basic stuff. It's gonna there's not hey, this is every fucking thing in your body, and this is this is low, that's high, and then you just go and buy a supplement based on those things. Exactly. But we are looking at other things like in your blood count, if that's generally high, your cholesterol, if that's high or whatever. And then we can make supplement recommendations to change those values or potentially change those values in addition to maybe potentially changing your training, cardio regimens, lifestyle, anything like that. So it's not like you're going to go listen to this, go and get your blood work and go oh, yep, this says I'm magnesium. I need magnesium. It doesn't, it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not plug and play, unfortunately.
No, but there are you can see trends.
To me, supplements are supplementary to what you're already making changes in your life with. So it's to support those changes and to give it a little bit of an extra boost, right? So if cholesterol markers are off, I'm not just going to be hey, go take this because it's going to help with those. And I'm not going to be addressing anything from a cardio, health, sleep, nutrition, life, any of that. I'm not going to be addressing that because I just expect this supplement to resolve all problems.
I think that's
if you have that attitude, shit needs to change.
Nutrition and exercise should definitely come first.
Yeah. And as I said, these things are supplementary to what you're already working on and making improvements with. Cool. All right. Anything else around blood work? Do we want to go into that in depth or?
Not really. It's the problem with this and this topic in general is the whole not a doctor sort of scenario.
Yeah.
As in, if I say on this, hey, if you have cholesterol issues, take these.
Yeah.
Then the internet's going to be coming after me like Huberman or whatever. I'm going to be getting memes made about me or some shit.
Yeah.
Fucking Lee Norton's going to be making an angry yelling at me in the video. I'm not.
But you've made it.
That's why you've made it.
You've made it. You're right.
Yeah, but I'll save that. Yeah, I'll let the fucking
specialists
let them do it. Well, are they? But anyway. Yeah, I don't want to be that. So we can make some guidelines, I guess, but and we can talk through what we do, and it's going to be applicable to a lot of people. But in terms of dosage and exactly what it is and how severe you're potentially out on some of those blood work markers and stuff, the more you're going to layer it in. If your fucking fasted blood glucose is slightly high, there are so many options of different kind of severities or impacts that we can make to help that, as well as all the lifestyle stuff. Something like chromium, whatever, could be the really cheap, lowest sort of thing to help bring you back. And then you step up and there's a few more berberine and metformin and then you've got actual medication and stuff that are, again, of different sort of levels for things. Yeah, like statins as for your cholesterol. There's heaps of them. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the point where it's okay, definitely doctor, but
not a doctor.
But there's a list of where you're at.
And there's a lot of interventions you can make before you even necessarily need to get to that perspective. As Mikki said, with relation to if it's cholesterol, maybe even blood glucose a little bit high, okay, are you doing any form of cardio? What is your nutrition like? What is your stress like? What is your sleep like? Generally, if you can start to look at addressing these things first, then these are just things after and after. The level of layers is so much bigger than people think, rather than coming in and they're oh, this is wrong, this, and this, so I better go take this, and this. It's
it's also just understanding with blood work, it's a small scope as well when you think about it, because we've had people come back with liver enzymes and stuff like that being a little bit elevated, but then
or blood glucose.
Yeah. But there's been okay, well, prior to that gym session, this individual was really, really sick. prior to the blood test being taken, the individual was really sick. They maybe trained a couple of days before. There was antibiotics being consumed. Like there's other factors like you have to look at before you then go like, oh, because some people like look at those numbers and like, oh, okay, liver enzymes are a little bit out of whack here. I need to go and start supplementing on some of these things. When it's like, well, maybe the liver enzymes were elevated because of lifestyle factors that had, like maybe you had a few big drinks and stuff like that, or maybe you're just a chronic drinker and like there's other things that you could be changing prior.
Yeah, I know. I got a story about that. When I think the first time I ever went and got bloods from my doctor years and years and years ago, I never knew anything about muscle wastage having like increasing elevated liver enzymes and anything like that. And my liver enzymes came back quite high and the doctor's like, oh, did you drink on the weekend? And this was when I actually used to drink, and I was like, oh yeah, I had a few bevies over the weekend, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, well, we need to run more tests because like these are quite high. I'm worried.
Is it like creatinine and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was ALT, AST.
Yeah.
Were both quite elevated. And he was like, oh no, they're both high. Like we're going to need to run more tests. So I went and did that and they came back high again.
How did you feel when when he's like that?
I was worried because I was like, because my mum has some liver issues.
Okay.
And I was a little bit like, oh, fuck, okay, like this is high. The doctor's telling me there's a concern, blah, blah, blah. But I'd also train the morning before I got my bloods.
Yeah.
And I was never told, don't train.
Yeah.
He never once mentioned to me, don't train at least a day before or 48 hours if you can, anything. And I ended up having to go and get scans done. I ended up going to have MRIs and stuff done. I ended up having to go to a liver expert at the GCUH to go and like have more scans and blood tests and all of this stuff done. And when I went and saw the liver expert, she was like, there's nothing wrong with your liver at all.
Yeah.
She's like, how long before you got the bloods had you trained? And I was like, well, I train 5 to 6 times a week. So basically there's never a day where I had a day off before going to get them. She's like, okay, take 2 days off, get more bloods, come back to me. Did that and my liver enzymes were perfect.
Yeah.
And this was like a 6-month thing of like having to wait. And like the doctor at the time was like, nah, you got to go see a specialist. And I had to wait to get an appointment. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like,
that's
this
actually
is
another
hectic.
Good point, actually, is that like when you get your blood test back, depending on which company you're getting them through, there'll be a list of values and then they'll highlight or bold, red, the things which need addressing that are out of range.
Yeah.
Or maybe potentially addressing, I should say. And it's really common for my clients and other people that I've talked to freak out on that straight away. And if you need to freak out about it, like if it's a problem that is worth freaking out about, like you won't be like just getting them in an email or whatever. Like the doctor will be ringing you and saying like, "Hey, come back in."
Yeah.
I mean, you sort that out. That's not to say don't do anything about them. It's just like if there's a couple of red marks on there, that's extremely normal.
Yes.
No, as Mikki said earlier, but snapshot in time. These bloods are usually used as a general guide to get people to specialists to go to investigate further, I should say. It's rarely a kind of like get it back.
It's just like a service.
Yeah.
Like it's a general service. Like you're at your car service, you get all those things sort of pressurizing you. Then from there you go, okay, well, these things all came back. Yeah. Then from that, all right, well, I need to address this, this, and this. And then you just go out and you do it. And it's actually a lot easier to improve some of these markers than what people think as well. They just like to blow it way out of proportion. Like, oh, my liver's fucked. It's like, well, is it? Like, maybe we change a few of these lifestyle things, follow through with that for 4 to 6 weeks. And
your body's also crazy good at fixing shit.
Yeah, it's very resilient. Exactly. Cool. So what have we got next? Supplement industry marketing is crazy. You kind of talked on that a little bit, but I actually have a story from Will used to work in a supplement store. Which one? Mass Nutrition?
Yeah.
Before it all closed down. Which one did you?
Genesis.com.au.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Will, when we first moved here to the Gold Coast, nearly
Wilbur and me could have worked together.
No.
Could have been work distance.
What, out of the same one in
Narang?
Yeah, I was the sales manager for the company.
Oh, well. Yes, anyways, I would
have been your boss.
Manager.
Imagine.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, Will used to work at Mass Nutrition in Cairns. And I remember, itty bitty little me, I walked in to my first ever supplement store, and Will was the salesperson at that point in time and was the worst salesperson.
Professional.
Sales professional.
Well, I think he just finished one of his first bodybuilding shows, his little physique shows, because he was like all tanned up. And
I think it would have been the physique ones in the first. It wouldn't have been the bodybuilding ones because I would have been dead.
Yeah, yeah. I remember walking out of there and being like to my mom, that guy looked like a Greek god. He was so golden.
Fucking
true, Josh.
And my mom's like, do you know that guy? He's definitely into you. He was so infatuated with you.
I believe it.
Anyways, I remember walking in and I was like, oh, I'll get some raspberry ketones and I want some of this and I want like my fat burners. I was like 60 kilos, so like 7-8 kilos lighter than what I am at the moment. And Will's just like, here's some creatine, here's some pre-workout, here's some protein powder, get out of the store. So I ended up walking out of the store empty-handed, and then like a few blocks down was ASN right on the corner. I spent $300.
Your sales averages wouldn't have cut it, mate.
L-carnitine, like
we had
glutathione, like all that.
We had
sort of
averages
stuff.
we needed to hit, and it kind of sucked. Like working in the supplement
you
industry,
know about it. Yeah.
It does suck because at the end of the day, like you're there to do a job, and your job within that company is based upon how well you can do it. So like my role was based around selling.
Yeah,
it was upselling people, and then people come into the store, and I knew it sounds really bad from like an integrity perspective, but like I knew that the supplements are going to do fuck all for what they needed.
Well, that was Will's issue.
That's why I stopped.
That's one of the things that I sort of took a back step and ended up going in like more client relations and conflict resolution stuff, because it was just like for
the same company.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Upstairs.
Yeah.
Off the floor a little bit more. It was just it was like there'd people come in, but then there was also people who come in and they wouldn't take no for an answer. They're like, this fat burner is going to
change my life.
And I was like, you know that like fixing up some of your food and stuff would probably help too. And they're like, I'm not going to change my diet. I'm not going to exercise.
If you stop
I just
eating
need
like a fatty,
I just need the fat burner. And I'm like, I was like, all right, you want fat burners? I got fat burners. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'll sell you whatever you want.
It's full of
if
caffeine.
they were rude, absolutely.
Absolutely. That was Will's thing.
It was like,
if they were nice and they were genuine and everything, I would be nice as well.
Yeah, I would always push them to like better choices. So similar to you, like, hey, you probably just need creatine. You probably, you know what? If you're going to get a thermogenic because you're up at 4 a.m. and you just want to buzz in the morning, cool. That's got caffeine in it.
Yeah.
Probably got a couple of other things in there that may help you with some vitamin Bs and stuff like that for some energy stuff. Cool. Protein, done.
Yeah.
Some dudes wanted mass gainers. I was like, yeah, sweet. They're actually whatever.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Or I'd tell them that they could just go to Woolworths and buy a bag of dextrose for $2 and not have to spend $90.
Will's integrity was, if you were an asshole to me, I would sell you everything under the sun. But if you were actually a nice person, I would just sell you what you need.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Value compass there.
It's hard. Like anyone who does work in the supplement industry, like I'm sure they get it. And I think it's changed a lot more now.
There's a lot less of those products that I see in sup stores.
I think people are just smarter.
It's just more protein powders, like different
proteins, pre-workouts.
Heaps of protein brands. Like I went into even Nutrition Warehouse the other day because Will just ran out of his like online company. So I went into Nutrition Warehouse and got some stuff. And I was walking around, I was like, there is like 15 different protein powder like companies in here right now. I just want the one that tastes good. Like, is it WPI? Does it taste good? And is it not $150 for a bag?
WPC, WPI, then you got casein, you've got like mass gainers, you've got your fat burners, you've got the blends.
There's so many. So I can understand how it's really confusing for people. Like I totally get it.
Absolutely.
If you have no idea what you're looking at, like I can understand how they'd be like, yeah, this $160 protein powder, this 1 kilo bag, this is going to be the game changer. Whereas like bulk nutrients, $35 for a kilo, like we're onto a winner there. So
it could be
we actually don't have any like affiliations with any supplement company, by the way, either. So
similar in the medication world, in that, like for me with insulin, if you want better control over your blood sugar, you'll get 2 insulins. One that's a basal, long-acting, kind of 24-hour. Think of it as like smooth out the bumps. So you're not an absolute roller coaster of ups and downs. It just smooths it out a little bit. Drip feed. And then you've got your short-acting ones, which is kind of like you eat a meal, you counteract it with this in a way. And then they make other insulins, which are a blend of the two, which work well for people who just have no clue and have no interest in learning, which is crazy to me, but about it. And then it's usually like older people who are just like not I don't know. They
Pass.
don't want to be thinking.
Past the time of giving a fuck. And they probably don't eat that much either.
Yeah, I don't know. But those blended ones aren't as good because obviously if you want to take X amount because you ate off short because you ate a meal, then you're getting heaps of long-acting one, and then they cross over, and it's it's a shit. I would never recommend that to anybody. But they make them for people who can't be fucked, and supplement industries do the same. That stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Your dad takes like the man shake.
Yes.
So and I'm like, man, what do you
Dad's
take
like,
that
I
shit
lost so
for?
much weight on this man shake. I'm like, it's just like, it's literally a mass gainer.
It's extremely
with less carbs,
with some vitamins and shit.
Yeah, it's a meal replacement.
Yeah,
protein powder shake.
I'm just every time I see it, I'm like, God, what are you doing? But then I'm like, he's the same. He's right though. He's one of the guys that just can't be fucked. Like you tell him to take protein, he's like, take vitamins, take this one thing, okay.
Yeah.
So they do have a place. It's just for those people which probably don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Like my dad.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go into the individual supplements that we take. So I already mentioned before, D3, omega-3s, magnesium, pretty good general health across the board for most people.
Only other ones I'd add into that is vitamin C.
Vitamin C, yeah.
I just recommend a good quality multivitamin.
Yeah, I was going to say multi as well.
Because to me, like, and as I go through my own list, like vitamin D3 and vitamin C and the multivitamin that I recommend are already dosed adequately. So like if I can take 2 pills that have got that plus a bunch of other things, I'd rather that than take D3, C, multi-fish oil. Like, you know
that'll
what
tick
I mean?
the boxes more and be easier. Obviously going to be more expensive.
Yes.
So
yeah, but I'm happy.
But
is it though when it's like, you know, a vitamin D might be $15, $20 for a bottle, vitamin C, 15, you know what I mean?
It is if you add it up.
Yeah.
It definitely is more expensive, but it's like, taking
ease.
5 pills versus 20.
We're going to cover sleep supps in a moment, or this might even be a good bridge into it. But I was taking... For years, I've taken the exact same sleep supplements off of iHerb. I would buy the individual things because I could get, 240 capsules of certain things and whatnot all at once. Versus then one day I ran out and I was like, it's going to take 2 weeks to get here from iHerb. I need it tonight. Like, I need to go to sleep. And I went into just Nutrition Warehouse and picked up a sleep supp, and I think it was like $110. And for 20 days supply.
Yeah.
And yes, it was dosed adequately enough. Like, it was enough to suffice. And it was convenient because it was just pour it into a bit of liquid and drink it down instead of taking all the tablets. But then the cost of that was like, for the amount that I was getting for the tablets versus what I was paying for the powder, I was paying like 4 or 5 times the amount.
Yeah.
Almost for convenience. It was the convenience factor. It's like, okay,
Absolutely.
You're taking all of this. Cool. Here's a powder, 300 mils of water. You're sorted.
Yeah.
That was it.
I found this epic sleep supplement. I sent it through to Jordan the other day. It literally ticks the boxes for like everything. I don't know if I've sent it to you. So it's called Ortho Sleep. It's got GABA, 5-HTP. So again, like with those out there that are taking like mood suppressants or SSRIs or whatever, just be careful with your 5-HTP because it's a precursor to serotonin. So we want to steer clear of that. But yeah, so it's got GABA, 5-HTP, L-theanine, valerian root extract, melatonin, ashwagandha, and I think there's like a passion flower or something.
Passion flower fruit extract.
Yeah. All in one.
Yeah, right.
2 pills, you take that. And I'm like, poof. If I need to have a good knockout sleep, like I'll take one of those. But usually I actually don't take any sleep supplements at all myself personally. Only when I'm going through like peak stress periods that I can't like switch off from work, that I'll then introduce, like I was just introducing some ashwagandha and melatonin. And that was basically it until I found this sleep sup that I was like, oof, I want to try this.
Yeah.
Magnesium.
For me, I've basically always taken them only because I generally finish work late.
Yes.
And try to go to bed within about 2 hours to 2.5 hours from when I get home.
Yeah.
So like I'm still quite wired.
Yeah.
Especially combine that with my ADHD meds, which can keep me a little bit more wired from time to time.
I wouldn't be having like 5-HTP with your
ADHD so for me, I quite literally just take melatonin, L-theanine, GABA, magnesium glycinate, zinc glycinate.
Yeah.
And that's my pre-bed.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. And that ticks all the boxes for me. I used to take a lot more melatonin, and then I learned I didn't really need that much at all.
Like 3 milligrams.
I take 3 milligrams now, whereas sometimes I used to take 20, which was ridiculous. Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
And yeah.
Did you find that you wake up really groggy from that? The first few times that I was taking melatonin, I woke up quite groggy.
I think it depends on how long you sleep for. So if I've ever had to sleep like 6 hours or less, I wake up pretty groggy from it. But generally speaking, again, like in combination with the other stuff that I take throughout the day and like finishing late, up early kind of thing, like I don't necessarily find I'm too groggy from it. And that's like the perfect, it just knocks me out, keeps me asleep. I wake up, feel refreshed, feel good to go.
Yeah.
Ready to attack
Now,
the day.
you've obviously been addressing, like you mentioned at the start of this, like you're not taking fish oil and a few other things because of what you're doing with your nutrition.
From a
What
dietary
other,
perspective,
what other health supplements are you taking then?
At the moment, I just take like the standard ones we've mentioned. So like every now and again, if I don't get sun within like 2 to 3 days, I'll just take a little vitamin D tablet just as an up regulator. I take vitamin K2.
Heart health.
Yeah, heart health. So that I take that one as well, obviously in combination with magnesium and things like that. And then the most of mine are pretty much the pre-bed ones.
Okay.
So beyond that, the only other one I take, which is not really a health sub, is telmisartan.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like
we can go
blood
into
pressure stuff.
a
Yeah,
little
which is
bit.
obviously we'll cover that as well. But yeah, from that end, I haven't had to take as many as I used to.
Yeah. What about you, Wilbur? Your health sup list?
I've got the general health ones. I've said blood glucose supps for the diabetic. It's kind of obviously a little bit. I don't need them because insulin does it.
You take insulin.
yeah. I've got a pump thing attached to me that regulates it to some degree, but I still take metformin and or berberine just to help with insulin sensitivity because they're not the same thing. Like taking insulin sensitivity, they obviously work together.
Yes.
So I'll still take some of those.
How much metformin do you take? You have a higher dosing, don't you? Then like typically we'll give like 500.
Usually when I remember like a gram.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually recommend like 500 milligrams when
the doctor had me on 2 grams.
I think I was taking 1,000 milligrams. Yeah, a gram.
Yeah.
Right before comp when I was on like 1,000 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah. Well, when you're eating that much
had to have it because my bloods came back high and I was like, well, this is to help balance that out.
Yeah, if you're a person that's slamming back a shit ton
of carbs
and you're not diabetic, then absolutely we'd be taking that. We'd be taking berberine, we'd be taking chromium, we'd be taking all that sort of stuff, as well as you can obviously address it through diet because you don't have to eat that many carbs as well. Joint supps. So at the moment I am for the past years I've had kind of some trouble with my knees in particular, but I mean being a powerlifter, most of your joints get fucking beat up after years of abuse. So I never really took a lot of joint supps, but I have an upcoming procedure on my right knee. It's not surgery or anything. It's just like a.
We'll be releasing more details on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some work done on it, and I know that's coming up in a couple of weeks, but I've known about like that date for a month, and I thought, if I'm going to get this thing done, I'm going to take some supplements that are going to help with inflammation control a little bit more, as well as like your common sort of osteoarthritis-y sort of supplement list of effective subs from them. So chondroitin, glucosamine, MSM sort of mix, collagen and vitamin C, taking those, and curcumin for general inflammation control around it as well. Yeah. So all of those at the moment.
Taking collagen as well. That was the other one I forgot about.
Do you take that? Do you both? Well, I told Will the other day, make sure you're taking like pre-gym sessions.
I take it before bed with my vitamin C.
Yeah, Josh takes it for his skin.
Yeah.
Look pretty.
Will goes, I found out collagen is good for your skin. Is my skin glowing?
Yeah. Tell me on YouTube.
And that's you take proper marine collagen, like the powdered stuff, or are you taking a tablet?
Yeah, I take it from Thorn.
Yeah, Thorn, yeah.
Yeah, I told him to make sure he get it in pre-gym sessions as well, because it helps a little bit more with the absorption of it if you get it in about 30 minutes pre-gym.
A lot of these stuff
if you're using it for like joint stuff, it's
there you go.
A lot of this stuff, it's like there's a quote unquote optimal time for it or whatever. But I mean, like consistency is by far the biggest one.
That's one thing that I've had conversations with clients about as well, is the consistency aspect. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, this is great if you can take it pre-training or after training or before bed, or in the morning. They're like, I get up and go in the morning and I forget, and I'm like, okay, cool, just take it before bed.
Yeah,
like as long as it's not something that's going to keep them awake at night or anything like that, like a stimulatory effect. If it's a matter of just someone remembering to take all of them at once.
And most people, I'm just like AM, PM.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Like just have it as long as you're having it.
Yeah,
for the most part,
if you're taking a lot,
having a benefit.
There's definitely like optimal, but then there's just like what consistency is the most optimal. Like if you're only taking it once a week, well then
it's probably going to not help as much as
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
that's about me as far as like consistent ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then other periods call for obviously different things. And
we have a cabinet in the living room that's got like 3 drawers just full of different supplements that are used at different times.
Yeah, so during a comp prep, if I were to use PEDs, then obviously it's not just that, but like there's common predictable side effects through most of this stuff. Things like cholesterol, things like blood pressure, things like
liver.
Well, yeah, like any of it, all of it. But there are a handful of ones that most people are going to kind of that are very common, and then there's other stuff which are maybe not so common that maybe is very specific to you that you've noticed because you take your blood work seriously, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But the more common ones can kind of be combated through like as a precautionary thing. Like you don't have to wait until you have high blood pressure. You can go, hey, I'm probably gonna maybe my blood pressure is maybe going to trend up from X supplement that I take. So,
or just the fact that you're training like I have got natural
just being
athletes.
fucking big.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So I'm going to take this as a precaution to that. So that could be like there could be multiple things that fit into that category.
Yeah. One daily supplement that I actually recommend to quite a lot of people that I forgot about is NAC, N-acetyl-L-cysteine.
Yep.
Obviously, that converts to glutathione in the body, which is like your body's number one antioxidant.
Yep.
It has massive backing behind it from a scientific perspective, because when certain period happened through 2020, there was a lot of speculation about its effect, and so they ran it through American studies, and it came back that it was actually quite good. Had a range of benefits from like health and general health every day, things like that, like helps liver detoxification.
There's a list here.
Like
when people are getting sick as well, it's something that I usually throw at them.
Yeah, I take 2 grams daily when I'm getting sick, or if I am sick, I'll take 2 grams 3 times daily.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I warn people about, it's so cheap. Like especially the powder I buy from Bulk Nutrients, and it's like 1,000 serves or something. It's wild how cheap it is. And the only thing that I'll tell people is your farts might smell like sulfur.
Yeah, delightful.
Tasty.
Please don't fart in here. We're in a confined space.
No, it's only if I'm loading it when I'm sick. Like I've only ever had to load it when I'm sick, but generally speaking, like in combination obviously with like dietary things like that as well, but like I haven't necessarily gotten sick, like touch wood, in a very long time, because
I don't remember the last time I was sick.
Any time I've ever started to get sick, like, when you're surrounded by everyone at comps and then everyone gets sick, I'm like, okay, cool. For the next 3 days, I'm just going to load up on a bit more NAC, get my fruit and veggies in.
Yeah.
And going through a comp prep, that's again a predictable time. That
8
obviously,
to 9 weeks out.
Yeah, like especially toward the back end of a prep, like your stress is going to be high just because of, hey, I've got a comp coming up. I'm stressed generally, but also just like fatigue from training. Like your immune system's going to be a little bit more compromised. And that's generally when I'll recommend taking immunity stuff, even if people aren't sick. I'll be like, hey, maybe good idea to boost this stuff up because we're going through, an overly stressful, fatiguing time where it might be more and everybody knows how much it sucks getting sick at 2 weeks.
I also find that unless you have a nutrition coach, like because you're fatigued, you're exhausted, like you start when you're in that position, like you start to make poor decisions, and food is one of the first things that usually goes at that point as well. And so when nutrient quality comes down, and immune system's already compromised, you're already fatigued, like you're literally creating an environment for
sickness.
For that to come in. So that's why I'll typically, I will encourage something like that along those lines. Or of course, like ensure that nutrient markers are at least upheld over that timeline as well.
Yeah. Getting sick near a comp sucks so much.
Yeah.
You put in so much work and then you just get the flu like the week of, or or even a couple weeks out.
It takes a lot away, and
every
you sacrifice a 20-week prep for.
Yeah.
Then you get sick a week out, and you're kind of like, whereas you take something like NAC or something along those lines, or keep your nutrients up, and you're able to push through. You're like,
yeah. Is there anything else that you've got on your little list?
No, not for myself. We definitely covered all of that.
I have my list here.
Cool. Hit us with it.
Okay. So as I mentioned, Will and I are looking at, we are trying to have a little Willy. Try and have a baby Bilbo. And so the first thing that I've got is a prenatal supplement, which is funny when I actually had a look, and I've got the label here in front of me on my phone.
How much different is it?
It's literally just a really good quality multivitamin with folic acid in it.
Mint.
Yeah.
And probably charging you an arm and a
marketing.
leg.
No, so there's a few other bits and pieces in this that
Mikki's
have
been back to the mass
increased.
nutrition again.
It's just increased dosing on certain things as well.
Yeah.
So the prenatals, like I said, it's got your folic acid in it. It's got your zinc, your iron, all that sort of stuff. So I don't have to take any of those extra supplements.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that it's higher dosed on is like selenium is one of those things that it's cranked up on as well. It's got what's the other one in here? Yeah, my folate. The folate in this is like over 1,000 micrograms or 1,000 milligrams. Like it's quite high. So that's reducing my need to take like more pills of other things. So I think it was like $60 for this. I take one of them and they fucking stink too. I don't know if you guys have like ever smelt your multivitamins, but like multivitamins are stinky.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, I always get a little bit of nausea from like because it smells on my fingers. And if I don't eat with my multivitamin, I often find I get a little bit of like just stomach discomfort. So I usually, all my health supps I take before I go to bed. So yeah, my prenatal is just a really, really good quality multivitamin with dosed up on a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, zinc, selenium, vitamin D, the main things in that. I'm taking this inositol as well, which I use that before bed, and that's to help. The first things I've got here is like all this sort of stuff is cellular growth and like reductions of inflammation. But I've read up that it also helps reduce the risk of gestational diabetes because of how it helps with insulin sensitivity and stuff like that. So I take that.
I got the solution for you, even if that's happened. So we're all good.
What gestational diabetes? You got
insulin.
Insulin
Yeah,
available for me. Thank you for that.
Too much.
Well, hopefully I can actually get it prescribed to me in my own thing. And hopefully I don't get gestational diabetes.
Let's hope you don't get it before you get it prescribed.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's like any passing of is it contagious? Is your diabetes contagious?
Antibodies.
And everyone stop listening there.
All right, the next thing I got, NAC, antioxidant, CoQ10. So I've got my prenatal. I take inositol. I take NAC every single day. I've got CoQ10, which apparently helps improve my egg quality as well.
Does a lot of things. It's actually a pretty good all-round supplement for everybody. But the thing with all this stuff is that if you took everything that does good things, like you'd be
the laundry list is very expensive.
You spend your whole day swallowing pills.
It's not cheap.
You choose your kind of priorities.
Yeah. So like I said, I've got like the NAC and the CoQ10 are both like antioxidants as well. But CoQ10 I read up and helps improve egg quality. And then I've also
where the forms matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've also got just fish oil, which I take just to help with hormonal health and reducing inflammation. Yeah. So prenatal, inositol, NAC.
A lot of similar stuff
to
us.
Yeah. Oh, acetyl-L-carnitine. I'm not taking that at the moment. Ollie recommended that to me, and he said like if you can get it like injectable as well. And I was like, I don't want to like. I'm already taking like 5 pills at the moment, and I don't want to like. I know we have it at home.
No, not that type. No.
Okay.
Not Alka.
Well. Yeah, that was another thing that I looked into. That I was like, I don't want to like inject that if I don't have to.
Definitely.
So,
annoying. There's an annoyance factor to a lot of this stuff.
Exactly.
Like
and
if priorities.
If I'm already taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 or 7 pills a night, I'm done. Like I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to swallow any more pills.
Do you have to swallow more one by one, Josh?
No, I'm pretty good now. Yeah, I take.
Mikki has to No,
I
you
can
do them
take
one
like
by one.
12
I
at a
used to do
time.
them one by one, and now I'm a big girl and I do it
Do
all
you want to
at
know the
once.
secret?
What?
Head, chin down, not up.
Oh, I just don't smell it.
Oh, okay.
Because the prenatal thing
Oh,
stinks.
yeah, well, that's fine. But
So
I
that's why I
learned that
couldn't do
chin
it
down,
before.
not up.
Is it?
Because everyone who takes like tablets, you think they like do that,
Yeah, you
tilt their
drop
head
back.
back,
Yeah.
Like a
but
bird.
it actually throws your like esophagus off out of line.
Yeah, it
putting
pushes
it
your tongue further
down.
back.
It goes down.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
the
one.
one thing I've learned from Chris Bumstead.
Okay.
He had like
C-bum.
20 something in a cup,
Yeah, gross.
Yeah, he'd have
pours
sponsors,
water in
so
it.
he would just like all the like
sculls it, and just straight down. And I've started doing it, and I was like, oh, I never get like one that's like randomly stuck.
Stuck, yeah, that's the
Because
worst
that
feeling.
sucks. It's
Yeah.
always my melatonin that gets stuck, and then I sit there and I go,
yeah. All of that's actually another thing. As obviously we talked about the marketing and just how that's the whole industry and how it works. But so these sponsored athletes, not calling CBum out, but all of them do it. Obviously they're sponsored and they're paid to endorse certain companies and stuff. So I mean, like they're going to throw out their recommendations, and it's going to be all these little 1%ers, of what you don't really need but may be useful. And similar to training, like I said, like if you name a supplement, that there's going to be a pro, and then just don't mention the cons, sort of thing. So like, it can be super easy to be sucked under that because of whoever you follow. Becky with 50,000 followers said this is good, awesome.
A couple of other things that I think should just be mentioned as well. Like we talked about the fact that like you were taking metformin with high dosings of food. Like if I've got clients out there that are taking, like if they're consuming large amounts of food in general, male or female, then like some simple stuff like digestive enzymes and that sort of things are definitely worth, like, or ox bile if they're having like really high fat diets. I had one client that was having like 180 grams of fat in a day. Like he was 160 kilos. Like he was just a big dude.
that's me.
You got 180. I thought you were 150.
No, 170.
170 grams of fat a day. Are you taking anything to help with that? Do you
I
have
don't
slippery poos?
No.
Okay.
They're perfect. Because I've still got like 55 grams of fiber.
Yeah, you got a decent dosing of fiber in there.
And all my fiber is fruit and veg. Like,
yeah,
that's it. There's
okay.
no fiber from anything else, basically.
Yeah, fair. All right. Well, yeah, I've
Sorry,
like
whole grains, obviously, but yeah.
in the past, I've just had a couple of clients, digestive enzymes and ox bile is another thing that I've thrown out there from time to time with people.
Yeah, I think the common theme here, situational use, for the most part. There's a handful of supplements that are probably going to be good for most people because we're all lifters and similar and blah, blah, blah. But similar in certain ways. But a lot of this stuff is just situational. Situational in your diet, situational in your life, situational on your blood work that we talked about, on your health in general, on
there's a bunch of other stuff that we haven't even listed
through.
here as well.
Many. All of them, like I said, all of them have pros and cons.
Yeah.
So it's just working out, when do I want to use this? How much of it do I want to use during this? For how long do I want to use this for?
How much are you willing to invest?
How much is
that can be a big thing, because there's been times where I've even looked at it and I'm like, this is expensive.
Yeah.
But then when you actually break it down, like I think we all mentioned we all use iHerb.
Yeah.
You get it straight from the States. It's shipped over via a plane nowadays, so it's like a 10-day turnaround from start to finish.
Yeah.
Free shipping if you spend over like $100. And for me, I'll spend maybe $160 to $200, but that's every 3 months.
Yeah.
And that covers me for 3 months. If I was to spend $200 in Australia, I'd be barely getting a month's worth, I reckon.
Yeah.
At some of the prices, and it's so underdosed.
Yeah. Like I said at the start, like the quality and the dosing of it.
Yeah, we're just very
there.
regulated here.
The last thing that I wanted to mention here, we've mentioned a lot of, not directly, but like, where not to get your advice. As in, like, don't just follow your influencer's word on it. Don't follow your supplement store guy's word on it. Do your research. And usually the site which I recommend for research is examine.com.
Yeah.
Very easy to remember, Examine. It's these days has a bit of a paywall system or a subscription system. I forget exactly how it works.
You can still find most stuff on there.
But it's still like free to access information for a lot of this stuff. If you look up blood sugar control or whatever it is, it'll give a list of things which actually have the science backing it, and And
it also has dosings in there as well that it
has
recommends.
dosings, has like has conflicts, as in like don't take this with that one. Don't confuse it with this other thing.
There's a free Australian government website that if for whatever reason you might be on some form of medication prescribed by a doctor or whatever,
that too.
It also highlights like drug interactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what not to take if if any of these are like, oh, that might work. It's always best to just double check.
Yeah, and as a coach,
examine.coms, the government websites, like
as a coach myself, like I'll always ask my clients what medications they're taking.
Yes.
Even like some people are like, oh yeah, I'm on like ADHD. I'm like, I don't care if you're on like ADHD medications. Like, be transparent about that, because this stuff literally has implications if used incorrectly.
People underestimate like because I remember because obviously I use telmisartan to help with blood pressure, and I went and had to get cold and telmisartan obviously helps with a bunch of things, but I went and had to get cold and flu. And she's like, oh, are you taking any of this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I use this. She's like, okay, well, you can't actually take the nighttime one because it increases blood pressure. So just as long as it's kept in check, you should be okay.
Yeah, okay.
But it's like just little things like that you may not even think about. You might get a cold and you're like, oh, I'll just go get some cold and flu.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'll always just precursor, ask those questions first, find out what these guys are taking, if it changes over the time, and then from there, based on what the blood work is telling me, is what I'll generally recommend. But I'll also ask them what they might already have available, because I don't want to be sending them on a list that's going to cost them $250 or something up front initially, when they've already got certain things at home that they could be using as well.
Usually it's like this is the whole list.
Yeah.
And then these
stock up as you can. Yeah.
These are the priorities. And fit whatever your budget or whatever you want to.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah. How far are you willing to go on that?
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, that's it.
Leave it there.
Lovely. I think that was good.
Cool. All right. Adios. Thank you for listening to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned in the podcast today, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gyms based in the Gold Coast and Townsville. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram for any updates on what we are currently doing, and we'll see you all in the next episode.